If you want to add a little bit of color to your glove and you don't want to work back and forth as you would in Intarsia-in-the-round, I found a way that, because it's just a few stitches, it's going to work fine. On the first row of the color work, we're going to work the stitches like stranded color work, because our yarn is here on the right and we can work the pattern. So I'm going to work these stitches as knit to the back leg with the contrast color. Then the next two stitches are pearls with the main colors. So that's just normal stranded color work, nothing special. We're going to work these stitches all the way to the marker. And the last two contrast color stitches, and we reach the marker. On the stitch after the last pair of the contrast color, we want to catch our contrast color yarn. We want to anchor it to the stitch after. So when we go back, it is anchored here and doesn't pull our stitches. At the original recording at the end of this row of the pattern, I told you to catch the yarn like you would in a regular stranded color work, but I found that it shows through the fabric. So what I recommend when you finish the pattern and you have your contrast color at the end on the left, you want to anchor it here, but only by making a twist between the yarns, not like you would in a stranded color work, but actually take your yarn, the main color, bring it under the contrast color. So you catch the contrast color here, but you can pull it away and continue working with the main color. This is the only way I found to result without any strands showing here. When I did the color work, the stranded color work of catching the yarn, the contrast color, I got this little green here. So I think that this is a much better result. It's really, you really don't see anything. We worked from right to left. We cut the contrast color here after the marker, and now we're going to come back. We are working in the round, so we're going to work the stitches in the round and come back to the right side of the pattern while our yarn, the contrast color, is on the left. So let's do that and see how to continue. So I reached one stitch before the pattern, and now I want to anchor my contrast color here. It's on the left, and I'm going to create a loop and anchor my ball of yarn to the right. We want to take the main color and bring it under the contrast color. Then we are going to create a fold here over the main color, and we're going to slide the fold on the main color all the way and place it right next to the needle, to the right hand needle, on the wrong side. Now we can work the last stitch before the pattern, and what we did is anchored our contrast color on the right of the pattern, and we created a little loop here. We can pull the loop out so we have enough yarn to work with. You need this loop to last a little bit more than working these stitches of the pattern. So the ball of the contrast color is going to left here on the right for the next row, and we are working with the loop all the contrast color stitches. This time I need to work cables, so I'm going to take out the marker. I need to work a left leaning cable. So I'm going to knit the first stitch, place the marker back, and now we're going to start working with the contrast color. I'm still holding my main color. This is how I do it. You can do it however you want. I'm going to just grab the contrast color for a second just to work my stitches to the back loop. 1 and 2, and I can release the yarn and work the next 2 purl stitches. So this is 1 purl stitch, and the next one is a cable. And that's the second purl stitch, and again I have 2 contrast color stitches. I'm going to grab the loop, work these 2 stitches, 1, 2, to the back leg, and release the contrast color loop and work my purl stitches with the main color, another cable, and that's the second purl stitch. 2 contrast colors, so I'm taking the loop and I'm working them to the back leg, 2 stitches, and releasing the loop, and the last cable. Let's bring this stitch, place the marker again, and create the cable. And that's my last purl stitch. And the last couple of stitches with a contrast color. So let's take the loop and make sure you're working not with the yarn that is connected here to the left, but with the yarn that you last worked the previous contrast color stitch. That's the yarn you want to grab, and let's work these 2 stitches to the back leg. And like before, we need to anchor the contrast color. So first stitch of the main color, we are going to work over the contrast color yarn. So just work the next stitch with the main color. Now we need to work the next stitch under the contrast color. So we're going to insert the right hand needle into the stitch, go under the contrast color, wrap the main color to work the stitch, and we can take the contrast color out. We can see that it's already going to be caught here, and work the next stitch just with the main color. We can leave the contrast color and work the rest of the stitches on this needle. And last step we need to do is to close this little loop. So we're going to take our needle and just pull the yarn all the way back. So we're going to start with here, the place where we cut the yarn. Let's pull it and take all the excess yarn here, And this I want to pull kind of tight. I want to make sure my stitch below is not enlarged. So this is making sure that this looks nice. Now I'm going to pull just as much as I need. So let's start with the last stitch we worked. I'm going to bring the needle under the stitch and just pull all the excess yarn. And again, a little tight just because it's the first stitch and I want this part to be tight. From now on, it's not going to be more than we need. So let's go to the previous stitch and pull the yarn just until this stitch is on the needle. We're going to go to the yarn between the pairs and pull and close the stitch. Now we want to make sure we have enough space here. We don't want the strand here between the pairs to be too tight, and we can pull the previous stitch and leave enough gap here, enough strand here, like we would in stranded color work. Let's go to the previous stitch and pull the yarn from this stitch. Make sure this stitch is okay and pull the yarn between the pairs, and we're just going backwards until all our stitches are okay and all the excess yarn is going to the right, back to the ball. So it's not too much. Once you do it not under the camera, it's a lot faster. And when I reach the last stitch, I'm going to pull the last stitch, and then I'm taking the ball of yarn, the yarn that is connected to the ball, and just pull the last stitch and close it. Now we have no excess yarn here and everything is neat, and we can work again all around to come back, and the yarn is now waiting for us on the right. So we're going to work the next row with our ball of yarn, which is going to be on the left, then work another round, come back, create the loop like we did on the last row, create a loop, anchor the yarn here to the right, and work with the loop all the way to the left and close it. This is how I work this color work without having to go back and forth. I'm still always going in the round.